Now at 9, we go behind the scenes to see how Fort Scott prepares for their annual fireworks display. Plus, with the 4th of July tomorrow, there are some precautions to take from getting injured. We'll break it down. And we're live in Pittsburgh as Chatters prepares to kick off their annual firework display tonight.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
A behind-the-scenes look at the Fort Scott 4th of July celebration. This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Amber Jenkins. Fort Scott had its annual 4th of July fireworks show tonight at the Fort Scott Community College. We got an inside look into what the process is like to set up these explosive shows and how important it is to have these shows in the community.
You know, it just reminds you we're in a free country, and it's just so awesome to be able to, you know, the show, what it does, you know, it's really the story behind it, you know, why we can be able to do it and what it means and everything. And it's just, you know, it brings people together, which basically what freedom is about.
KOAM's Anthony Saviello spoke to Josh Jones and the pyrotechnic company in charge of the display. We'll have more from them later in the show. Safety is important when celebrating the 4th of July. Reporter Savannah Harrison shares ways to prevent injuries and when to seek medical help.
And there's always a lot of good food and a lot of good conversation that happens on 4th of July. It's a really fun holiday, but that holiday can take a really bad turn if somebody gets injured.
A warning for families this 4th of July to make sure you're staying safe around fireworks during your celebrations. Doctors say they see many more burns and eye injuries around this time of year.
Absolutely. Lots more, going to be much more apparent during the couple weeks leading up to and including the 4th and then a day or two after. Really the highest incidence of fireworks injuries.
Experts at Cox Health have some tips on how you can stay safe while you celebrate America. For starters, make sure you're prepared. Have water nearby and ensure everyone is a safe distance away from the fireworks display.
Making sure that your viewing area is at a safe distance, making sure that where you're storing your additional fireworks is at a safe distance, a minimum of 25 feet for standard fireworks.
It's also important to be safe while lighting up the skies. Don't ever put your body or face in the direction fireworks may shoot in, and don't relight fireworks that didn't work.
Give it a lot of time, set it off to the side or scoot it off to the side where it's out of your way, or move where you're shooting off to the side, because that may fire at a later time.
Now, if someone does get hurt by fireworks at your celebration this week, always evaluate the injury. Small burns with just a bit of redness can be treated at home by running soap and water over it, as well as using burn cream and an anti-inflammatory like ibuprofen. Anything worse than a minor burn, especially eye injuries, should be seen at the ER or urgent care by a doctor.
Particularly those injuries that cause significant blistering or bleeding, or any injury to the eye, really needs to seek medical attention to get that evaluated.
Doctors also warn against making your own fireworks or shooting more than one off at the same time. They say those are the cause of the majority of injuries they see in the emergency room. Follow directions on the fireworks packaging to have a safe 4th of July. Meteorologist Sam Lane joins us with the first look at weather.
Well, Mother Nature had some fireworks earlier of her own up towards the north and west around Fort Scott and Yates Center, but those have now dissipated. You can see mostly fair conditions on the radar right now. If you're heading out to the lakes tomorrow, they're looking pretty good, generally right at normal. And Grand Lake is around 80 degrees for the water temperature. Over at Table Rock, they are just slightly above normal right now as far as the level. 84 degrees for your water temperature. And Lake Stockton looking pretty good as well, just basically around a foot above normal, and 74 degrees on the water temperature. And looking down the lane, we do have a hot holiday in store, as well as the drought continuing, but we do have increasing storm chances and also a little bit of a cool down coming, and I'll tell you more about that in just a little while.
A Joplin man is facing charges after a SWAT team was called in on a domestic disturbance. Donald Smith II is facing charges of domestic assault, robbery, and resisting arrest. The incident started Saturday morning about 11 a.m. When our officers arrived at the 21st 100 block of South Sargent, they saw a man enter the home and refuse to come out. Authorities called in the SWAT team. They were able to get the man to exit, and they took him into custody. Police say a firearm was involved in the disturbance. One victim did suffer minor injuries. A jury finds a man guilty in the 2017 shooting death of a Clinton, Missouri police officer. The jury found 45-year-old Ian McCarthy guilty of first-degree murder. The trial lasted nearly a month, with the state seeking the death penalty. Evidence shows McCarthy shot Officer Gary Lee Michael Jr. during a traffic stop, and then he left the scene. Officer Michael was a U.S. Army veteran and served with the Clinton Police Department for less than 1 year. The jury was unable to reach a decision on McCarthy's sentence. They did agree that a death sentence could be appropriate. The court will decide McCarthy's sentence at the hearing scheduled for September 8th. A Missouri man is dead after a drowning incident at the Lake of the Ozarks. According to reports, 56-year-old James Roy from Kansas City was last seen near an anchored vessel. Police say it's unknown how he went into the water. However, he failed to resurface. Roy was pronounced dead later at Mimosa Beach. A violent weekend in Maryland, Chicago, and D.C. metro area. More than 36 people hurt following several shootings. Fox News correspondent Madeline Rivera has the story.
Remnants from a holiday block party are now evidence from a crime scene in Baltimore. 2 people are dead after a shooting broke out during the celebration, and police have yet to make an arrest.
Now our detectives are still working through interviewing every one of the victims. We will continue to pursue any leads.
Nearly 30 people were also hurt. The attack is just one of several incidents of gun violence nationwide in the days leading up to July 4th. At least another 30 people were shot over the weekend in Chicago. 3 of those victims were killed.
This is not just a Baltimore thing. We have to be honest. This is the United States of America. This is our longest standing public health challenge.
The nation's capital is reeling too after a series of explosions on Sunday destroyed several businesses, including a bank and a Nike store. Investigators say a suspect also threw a Molotov cocktail-style object at a Safeway store.
Our building is not safe. As you can see, they bombed.
Authorities believe the suspect or suspects were targeting businesses and not people, and no one was hurt. But folks in the area are still afraid and want change.
It just made me think, like, when is it going to ever end? When is it will come to an end? Because, I mean, it's very sad.
Together, the Metropolitan Police Department in D.C. and the ATF are offering a $20,000 reward for information that could lead to the suspect or suspects. The ATF and the FBI are also offering $28,000 for help in making an arrest in the Baltimore mass shooting. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
Coming up, a new potential lifeline for underdeveloped fetuses. How some scientists are exploring a new device to resemble an artificial womb. Babies are considered extremely premature if they're born at or before 25 weeks of pregnancy. Scientists are testing a new device which acts like an artificial womb, helping underdeveloped fetuses continue growing outside their mother's body. The tests involve animal fetuses at the moment, but the team is eyeing clinical trials with humans in the near future. Fox News' Sue Guzman takes a closer look.
Researchers in Spain have created an artificial womb to help extremely premature babies continue developing outside their mother's body. Because the CDC says many organs like the brain, lungs, and liver are still developing during the final weeks of pregnancy, babies who survive being born very early can face several health challenges growing up, like breathing difficulties, vision and hearing problems, and more.
We are trying to develop a system that allows us to keep a fetus outside its mother, but still in the fetal conditions. That it continues to breathe through the umbilical cord, so we don't force it to breathe through lungs that are not yet fully developed. To feed it through the umbilical cord, to live surrounded by liquid at a constant temperature.
The goal of the artificial womb is to trick the fetus into thinking it's still in a real womb so it can continue developing and avoiding those health risks.
They could be kept in this system for a few weeks, and then we could reduce very significantly the mortality and the complications that they now present.
Currently, the team in Barcelona is experimenting with premature animal fetuses. Their artificial womb has been shown to keep animal samples alive for 12 days. They hope to begin human trials in the next 2 to 3 years. Sue Guzman, Fox News.
According to the latest data from the World Health Organization, roughly 900,000 extremely rare premature babies died around the world in 2019 alone. Stay with us next with your complete look at the forecast next. And later, Chatters in Pittsburgh's annual fireworks display is just minutes away from kicking off. We'll take a live look.
Well, we had another warm day across the 4 states despite all the cloudiness associated with the complex across northeastern Oklahoma, but at least it kept temperatures getting out of control. Right now in Seneca, Missouri, the Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, a beautiful evening shaping up across the area. Just a few high mid-level clouds out there, some altocumulus off in the distance, and that is about it. This afternoon, we made it up to 93 in Joplin, which was above the normals of 89. We were slightly below on the low, and of course, we're way below on the rainfall, around 8, almost 9 inches so far for the year. Radar shows most of the activity today has been down in Oklahoma and northern Texas, where there's still storms going on right now, some severe thunderstorms in and around the Dallas Metroplex. But we have mostly fair skies right now. We did have some earlier thunderstorms here and there across our region, but it was very sparse. Temperatures right now are pretty comfortable, generally in the 70s and lower 80s. 80 in Monette right now, 81 in Carthage, as well as Lamar, 78 up in Fort Scott. But meanwhile, it was a little bit cooler over in Nowata most of the day, and they're currently sitting at 75. Now tomorrow, this is what it's going to feel like. Temperatures are going to be in the upper 90s and approaching 100 out towards the west. That's what it's going to be feeling like, with temperatures in the lower 90s for highs. And then on Wednesday, again, well over 100 as far as the heat index goes. But notice some colder air up towards the north, and that's going to be moving in our direction behind a cold front, as well as increasing our storm chances. But over the next 36 hours, rain chances are going to be pretty low, except for maybe tomorrow afternoon, around 20 to 30% coverage on the activity. And that's all because of a storm system that's going to slowly pull away from us. And then as we go into Wednesday, we're going to see a bigger push of cooler air and also a bigger storm system move closer to us. And that's going to increase our rain chances for your Wednesday and into Thursday morning. And then by Thursday evening, looking pretty good as far as the temperatures go. Rainfall amounts are going to be around 3/4 of an inch on average, or a little bit more than that, especially in some isolated areas. We could see maybe an inch or so in some rain, and that will be beneficial. However, there is a risk of severe weather, and that stretches from all the way from Chicago all the way out to the high plains, and that does include all of our area on Wednesday afternoon and evening. The highest risk is going to be in the winds and also some hail and some heavy rain. We're not thinking tornadoes are going to be a big threat, but we'll keep an eye on that for you. Temperatures tonight are going to be dropping down into the 60s and near 70 degrees with isolated showers. And then tomorrow, the 4th of July, looking pretty good, partly cloudy skies with highs in the low to mid 90s. And then as we go into Wednesday, that's when the front comes down from the north. And so we start increasing the chances of showers and storms with lows in the 70s. Then that front moves through our area as we go through the afternoon and evening with highs in the upper 80s. And then by Thursday morning, that front will be sliding through, and we'll see temperatures in the 60s across the area. Over the next 7 days, here's the forecast. 20% chance of storms tomorrow. They'll be isolated. Stronger storms on Wednesday in a scattered basis, and then a high of only 83 on Thursday. And then Friday, maybe some more scattered storms, especially to the south and west. And then we start a slow warming trend as we go towards next week, but at least we'll be near normal and not seeing 100-degree temperatures, which we can this time of year.
Yeah, I'm just happy not to see any triple digits.
Me too.
And the 3rd annual Chatters fireworks display is about to get underway. This is a live look at Chatters as folks prepare to watch the fireworks display. It's a free event for anyone who wants to come and watch the fireworks. Starting at 10 tonight, there will also be live music performed by the Wayward Betties. There's also food, drinks, specials at Chatters. There's still time to go and enjoy the show. As officials say, they'll kick off the fireworks again at 9:30. You can find Chatters at 2401 South Rouse Street in Pittsburgh. Hundreds of wildfires are still raging across Canada. Forecasters fear that the thick smoke could impact the U.S. throughout the summer. Fox News correspondent Alexis McAdams has more.
While the West Coast bakes under a massive heat wave, other parts of the U.S. now bracing for more Canadian wildfire smoke. That country seeing its worst fire season on record. More than 560 active fires still burning, nearly half classified as out of control. Firefighters from across the U.S. flying in to battle those flames, but officials say drier than usual conditions could affect air quality throughout the entire summer.
We seem to see extremely or above average warm temperatures here this spring, with the amount of fire in the landscape from heavy spring fire load into now that it's probably going to be one of the longer, busier fire seasons that we've seen. certainly in this area in a long time.
Last Thursday, 5 major U.S. cities ranked in the top 10 for most polluted air in the world, according to IQAir.com. But strong storms were a blessing, washing out that smoke from the skies in parts of the Midwest and Northeast over the weekend. New York City, Detroit, and Minneapolis all moving out of the unhealthy category. While these fires aren't having a major impact on folks out west, an excessive heat wave is, and it's threatening air quality, especially in parts of Southern California. Officials warning that fireworks celebrations on July 4th could worsen air quality in areas with lingering wildfire smoke.
These fireworks sometimes can be erratic, and they can ignite brush and trees and other things that are nearby that are flammable.
Back in the Northeast, health experts recommend wearing an N95 mask outside when the thick smoke does return. In New York, I'm Alexis McAdams, Fox News.
Coming up, presidential candidates are working even over the holiday weekend.
Former President Donald Trump showcases his strength in the Republican primary with a massive rally in South Carolina over the weekend. But some of his rivals are unfazed. I'm Mallory Rivera in Washington with that story coming up.
While most Americans were enjoying the long holiday weekend, Republican presidential primary candidates were making their case against President Joe Biden and the GOP frontrunner, Donald Trump. Fox News correspondent Madeline Rivera has the story.
2024 Republican presidential candidates dominated the airwaves over the weekend, even those who are lesser known.
They should rally behind me because I've been talking about conservative issues for 40 years.
I understand energy, I understand agriculture, all the world markets, the economic statecraft we need to create a more stable world.
4th of July weekend.
As former President Donald Trump dominated Pickens, South Carolina.
I will end the disaster known as Bidenomics.
Tens of thousands gathered in the blazing heat to see Trump. He maintains a strong hold over the early primary state, also home to 2 GOP White House candidates, the state's former Governor Nikki Haley and Senator Tim Scott. Haley, however, is brushing off the polls.
We can look at past presidential elections and understand that national polls just don't matter right now. I mean, we've got a debate in August. We've got a debate in September.
Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie is also dismissing Trump's lead.
We've been in this campaign for 3 weeks. We're making a mark, we're making a difference, and we're going to keep working at it.
Christie is casting himself as the candidate bold and aggressive enough to take on Trump, but he's facing an uphill road.
President Trump is clearly the person in the Republican primary. That's certainly who we expect to win the Republican primary. Here in South Carolina, just Saturday, people got up at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning to stand in line.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, another leading GOP candidate, is also drawing criticism from his rivals. Over the weekend, the DeSantis campaign shared a video taking aim at Trump for supporting the LGBTQ community, an exchange that Christie called a food fight. In Washington, Mallory Rivera, Fox News.
The numbers are in and folks are going crazy for wieners. We'll break down how many hot dogs people are eating for the 4th of July holiday. You may not think of Independence Day as a massive injection into the economy, but it kind of is. Wallet Hub compiled some numbers and figure out Americans are planning to spend $9.5 billion on food alone for the 4th of July. Some of that will go to the 150 million hot dogs people eat that day. Another $3 billion will go to beer and wine, and $6.5 billion will go to American flags. Americans will drop another $2.7 billion on fireworks, but bills from the emergency room visits for fireworks mishaps aren't a part of the equation. Yikes. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. Coming up, Carthage unveils their newest destination playground. We'll take a look. Plus,
we're giving you a behind-the-scenes look into what it takes to create those big 4th of July fireworks. I'm Anthony Saviello with the story.
Fort Scott had their big 4th of July firework display tonight, and thank you for joining us for the second half hour. I'm Amber Jenkins. KOAM's Anthony Saviello got behind the scenes to look how the show comes together.
Everyone knows the feeling of sitting down on the lawn with a cold drink in your family as you watch the bright lights and listen to the loud percussion of 4th of July fireworks. But you may not know about how these shows are put together. I went to Fort Scott Community College to get a behind-the-scenes look into what it takes to put these shows together.
So far for the morning, we started about 9 o'clock. We go through, we bring all the tubes out of the storage container, clean them all out, make sure we have no cones that are left. begin placing them where we need them to in the sense of our modules are concerned, start getting the inventory ready to start dropping our aerials, and then we will begin to chain the electronic matches to them to get them ready to fire.
Sean told me that the process for a show this size will take up to 12 hours to set up. Time used wisely to make sure that the display not only looks spectacular, but goes off safely as well. But just in case, Sean also has backup.
Fire department, EMS is going to be here in case there are anything that we need them to go ahead and be brought in for. We'd like to take as many precautions as we can ahead of time, trying to think about the A, B, and C's, what happens if this happens or that happens, and making sure that everybody is trained on site of all the safety precautions that they need to partake in.
This year's display is special for Josh Jones, who was able to organize and raise money this year after previous sponsors stepped down.
Got together and we raised, a little over $12,000 in a few months to be able to put this on. It's such a big thing for the community. It's something, my kids are grown now, but it's still, probably 80-90% of the community can enjoy.
Enjoyment that is only possible by the hard work put in by Sean and his team. Reporting in Fort Scott, I'm Anthony Saviello, KOAM News.
There will also be food trucks and activities at the fairgrounds just down the road from campus. The third annual Chatters Fireworks Display is now underway. This is a live look at the fireworks display. It's a free event for anyone who want to come out and watch the fireworks. Starting at 10 tonight, there will also be live music performed by the Wayward Betties. There's also food and drink specials at Chatters. There's still time to go enjoy the show. You can find Chatters at 2401 South Rouse Street in Pittsburgh. That sound is signifying when Community Picnic with a fireworks display in Purdy, Missouri kicks off. The Terry family has been organizing the display for 8 years now and had a fireworks stand for 12. North Business 37 is closed through traffic from Highway C to Washington Street and Berry Avenue. It will be closed until 10:30 p.m.
My husband and I both were raised here and went to school here from K through 12. Our boys were raised here and went to school here, and some of our daughter-in-laws, and of course our grandchildren go here. And we've just been involved in the community all of our lives. It's all we've ever known.
And the community has been so good to offer money, offer labor, whatever it takes to put this show on, and so we're gonna make it a good one tonight, best one ever.
There's also a sign scavenger hunt currently going on until tomorrow. Whomever finds a sign gets some free fireworks. Flight delays and cancellations still plaguing airports across the U.S. just one day before the 4th of July holiday. Folks are still waiting hours and even days for new flights. Fox News correspondent CB Cotton has more.
Thousands of travelers once again facing flight disruptions this 4th of July holiday.
Coming in here, it was pretty packed in the terminal. It took us a while to get through. It was insane.
According to FlightAware, more than 1,500 U.S. flights were delayed or canceled on Monday. United Airlines is faring the worst, with about 5% of its schedule delayed by early afternoon. The problems leading to long security lines at airports.
We anticipated some long lines, but it's been moving, and the airport security has been doing an amazing job of getting so many people through.
Storms stretching from New England down to the southwest threaten to cause more issues. Some carriers are still playing catch up after last week's severe weather caused thousands of flight delays. Multiple airlines also blame the Federal Aviation Administration for the turbulence as the agency sees a shortage of air traffic controllers. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg says the FAA plans to hire additional staff in the coming months.
Whether we're talking about day-to-day ops and tactics, or whether we're talking about the bigger picture of staffing air traffic control for the future, we're moving very aggressively on that.
Also threatening to upend summer travel plans, a backup of U.S. passport applications. An online processing pause and staffing shortages have left the passport agency with a record 500,000 applications per week at times. The State Department says the processing time for a regular passport can take up to 13 weeks. In Newark, New Jersey, CB Cotton, Fox News.
The City of Carthage and the Chamber of Commerce unveiled a new destination playground today. It's at the city's municipal park. The new outdoor play area funding was from a $5 million grant from the McCoon Brooks Healthcare Foundation. They hope more than just the city residents take advantage of this new equipment.
while this is also a benefit to all of our citizens, those that are visiting our community can really take advantage of this beautiful destination that's here at Municipal Park.
The grant the city received will also fund projects in each of the city's parks. The Joplin Public Library is helping feed area children this summer. Starting Wednesday, any child under 18 years old is eligible to receive a free sack lunch. Lunches will be handed out Monday through Friday, starting at 11 a.m. in the library's lobby. The library is teaming up with the Joplin School District Nutritional Services to make it happen.
I think my favorite part of this program is knowing that we're addressing that food insecurity, we're addressing the needs of the community and allowing them to be able to then go out into the library and participate in the programs that we have available at summer reading, or just to participate in being a kid.
Those free lunches are handed out on a first-come, first-served basis. It's important to note that all the meals must be eaten at the library. The program runs through August 11th. Sam is next with another look at the weather. And later in the show, some anglers hooked themselves to hatch a lifetime, with another surprise waiting for them in the same day.
Well, it was another toasty one across the 4 states with temperatures in the low 90s in many locations, but we also had some thunderstorms to help kind of even things out a little bit. Let's take a look at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort down in Seneca, Missouri. As we go through the motion this afternoon, you could see mostly fair skies, and then the cumulus clouds really started developing, and especially some big storms down in northeastern Oklahoma, just to the south and west, giving them quite a soaking. But unfortunately, we only had a few thunderstorms here and there in our area. We did make it up to 93 today after starting out at 68, which was above the normals of 89 and 69 if you all average it out, and about 9 inches below for the year on the rainfall. We definitely need some more rain. But unfortunately today, most of it has been down in Oklahoma and southern Oklahoma and North Texas, where there's still some severe weather going on there. We had just a few isolated storms here and there in our region, and that's going to be the case again tomorrow. Really shouldn't impact the fireworks tomorrow. Temperatures right now are generally in the 70s and lower 80s. 81 in Carthage right now, 80 in Stockton, 77 in Nevada, 75 in Parsons, and rain-cooled air down in Nowata, where they're currently sitting at 74. Now tomorrow, when you factor in the high temperature and the humidity, we're going to be looking at heat indexes tomorrow well over 100 out towards the west and mid to upper 90s elsewhere, so it's going to be a little bit steamy tomorrow. And then as we go through into Wednesday, again, temperatures are going to feel like close to 100 degrees in many locations across the area in the afternoon, but we do have some cooler weather on the way. We also have some rain chances coming too, but for the next 36 hours, it's going to be pretty much on the low side. But then as we go into Wednesday, a different story. We have one storm system that's going to be moving away from us, and then a bigger storm system up to the north is going to drop down from the north and west and drag a cold front through here. And that's when we're going to see the rain chances really increase, especially Wednesday. And then as we go into Thursday, the cooler air starts to spill in a little bit and pushing that storm system a little bit further away from us. And in its wake, we're going to be looking at rainfall amounts generally around 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, maybe some isolated areas getting close to an inch of rainfall. That would certainly be welcome. We just don't want it on the 4th of July. Instead, it looks like it's going to be waiting another 24 hours into Wednesday. And we do have a risk of severe weather as well on Wednesday, and it looks like that's going to cover the entire area. The biggest threat is going to be some high winds, maybe some hail, as well as some heavy rainfall. The tornado threat, fortunately, is going to be very slight. Not expecting any tornadoes really, just some strong thunderstorms to move across our area. Temperatures tonight are going to be in the 60s and 70s with isolated showers, especially to the south. And then tomorrow, partly cloudy with highs in the low to mid 90s. Best chance of storms tomorrow will be in the eastern sections. And then as we go into Wednesday, here comes that front moving in from the north and west, and that will generate showers and thunderstorms in the morning and then continuing through the early afternoon. And we'll see highs in the 80s, and then that front will slide through and we'll start to get cooler as we go into Thursday. How cool? Well, how about 83 for the high on Thursday after the storms on Wednesday, and then Saturday and Sunday we'll start to see a slow warming trend, but at least it's not going to be 100-degree temperatures. Instead, we'll be right around normal with highs in the 90s and lows in the 70s.
All right, it's looking pretty good. And coming up in sports, the Carthage Tigers introduced their new head baseball coach. Plus, the Joplin Outlaws play one of their most exciting games of the year. John Dells has the highlights after the break.
Becoming a new head coach at any school is a daunting task, but walking into a situation where your father was a Hall of Fame head coach, now that's a whole different animal. That's a reality, though, for Carthage incoming baseball head coach Kevin Berge. After leading McDonald County's program for 4 seasons, he stepped away from coaching for a year, but says being a part of the game of baseball, well, he missed that. However, when the opportunity came up to coach in the same spot where his father once did, that was too good of an opportunity to pass up.
He left some pretty big shoes to fill, so that's one thing. But on the other end of it, yeah, my dad was there, but there have been some great coaches here in the past too. So you go back and look at what this program has been built upon by some really, really good guys. I'm scared to list names because I don't want to forget anybody, but it's just one of those things that there have been great baseball coaches here, not just my dad. And so just going back and kind of getting into what those guys have done, it's kind of scary at times, but then you go back and think, hey, these are good guys. I've called a few of them, and they're so supportive, and it's been a really, really good transition.
Meanwhile, the Outlaws back in action tonight. Now, a week ago, Joplin was in last place in the Mink League South. Fast forward ahead to today, the Outlaws are in first place, and this evening they play against Nevada over at Pitt State. Outlaws have been red hot, but Nevada's had their number all season. We picked things up top of the 5th. Tie game, 2 men on for the Griffins, and a sack bunt turns into disaster for the Outlaws. Trying to get the lead runner, instead the throw goes wild. He comes in to score. Nevada takes the lead. More trouble in the top of the 7th. 6-5 Nevada, 2 men on. But this 6-4-3 double play by Cole Hill and Corey Siracusa gets Joplin out of the jam. Joplin is down 1 until Nixon Brannon, the MIAA Freshman of the Year, hammers one to deep left and out. That would give the Outlaws a 7-6 lead into the 9th. So they've got Nevada on the ropes. The Griffins would get down to their final strike on this ground ball to short right here. But take a look at this bounce that it takes up over the shortstop's head into the outfield. The Griffins just would not go away. Ben Lloyd comes around to score and tie the game. That brings us to the bottom of the 9th, though, and Brannon up again. He gets all of this one again. By the time it lands, game over. Walk-off home run for the Pitt State product at his home fields. And with the win, the Outlaws stay in first place. Over to pro baseball. Cardinals drop another one tonight, this time on the road in Miami. St. Louis looked to be in good position after scoring 4 unanswered runs, but the Marlins go for 2 in the 7th. These two will meet again tomorrow in the second of a 4-game series. Now, same deal with the Royals. They're in Minnesota tonight, taking on the first-place Twins. Kansas City stayed in this one for most of it, actually tied it in the 8th after that Nick Prado home run, but the Twins answer back with 5 runs of their own to basically put this one away in the 8th. But bringing it back to the Outlaws, I mean, I was there. That was an exciting game, maybe the best game of the year.
It's pretty awesome. Well, yeah. All right. We'll be back with more news after this. It's the classic fishing tale of hooking the big one with a twist. Some men say they caught a 100-pound stingray off the coast of Alabama. Ashlyn Mitchell reports they got another surprise catch the same day.
Jeremy, how does that fish feel?
Heavy. Chris Moore and Jeremy Sloan knew they'd caught something big when it took them 45 minutes to reel in their anonymous catch.
Fighting something monstrous. I've already done fought it 15 minutes.
After a while, we both ended up getting tired. I continued to fight the fish to bring it in. Probably about 35 to 40 minutes in, it ended up breaking my fishing pole that we had just got from Bass Pro. And I was running 100-pound test line on it, so it wasn't going to break my line.
To their shock, they discovered a 100-pound stingray once they got it on shore.
I never caught one that big from Dolphin Island.
Moore was accompanied by apprentices from Germany and Mobile for the summer working at Airbus. It was their first time on the island.
They didn't want to grab the fishing pole.
And here they are, pictured with their first baby shark, a little less daunting than the stingray.
It was definitely worth it. It's about building memories. They don't get to see that on the regular.
But an hour later, they were in for another surprise, hooking a second ray.
As I was able to get the hook from its mouth and went to go release, it didn't want to swim away right away. It was hanging out right there in the shoreline. And sure enough, within 30 seconds passing of releasing it, it started giving birth to baby stingrays. So we probably had 3 to 4 baby stingrays just swimming around right there for everyone to get a watch.
For both stingrays, Moore says they were careful with the catch and release.
I never want to cut the hook. I want to get the hook fully out of the animal's mouth before we release it. A lot of people, when they catch them, they cut the tail off. The tail does regrow after a year or two, but usually if you just grab them and flip them over, it'll kind of demobilize them a little bit, and you can actually go in there with pliers and pull the actual hook from the mouth. Beware of the tail. We've all seen the news stories of someone getting hit by a tail.
Wrapping up the show, we broke down people's love for the 4th of July hot dogs, but some folks are up in arms about the condiments. As we told you earlier, Americans will celebrate Independence Day with burgers and hot dogs, but you can't forget about the ketchup. And lately, some social media users have been debating how to best store the popular condiment. Ketchup maker Kraft Heinz recently weighed in on the issue, saying in a tweet, "Ketchup goes in the fridge." A day later, the company asked the public via Twitter poll where they kept their ketchup, in the chill fridge or in the pantry. Over 13,000 responded, and more than 63% said the fridge. Nearly 37% say they prefer their ketchup in the cupboard. All right, I prefer the fridge, honestly, but you know, to each his own. But that's our time for tonight, and thank you for joining us. We're going to leave you with a video of animals at the Brookfield Zoo in Illinois enjoying patriotic theme enrichment. Be safe. We're doing this all again tomorrow. See you then.